Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Lisum, and I'm coming to you with my amazing guest co-host, Shambry Ratliff. How are you, my
Hi,
dear? And we're
great,
evolving women. I'm
great,
evolving. You're evolving. We're all evolving. We're on this
absolutely.
journey together. And to help with that journey, we're here to share uplifting messages, offer new perspectives, maybe some tools, maybe some resources, maybe some wellness ideas, maybe some mindset shifts, plant some new
Yes.
seeds so we all are evolving faster. So we're here to give you permission to be your best self, and we want to welcome you here to Evolving Women. We're so glad you're here. The holidays do not have to be stressful. Hmm. Think about that. I know it's very stressful for a lot of people, but our guest co-host today, Shambry, does not think it has to be stressful because she's made a choice and a decision to be happy this time of year, irregardless of any previous experiences. So we're going to follow that thread and see where that takes us. And Chambry, welcome. We're so glad you're here. I can't wait to hear all of your wisdom and your nuggets to share with us today. So please, we're going to start right by digging into this whole concept of making a choice during the holiday, whatever the holiday is. It's obviously Christmas time based on what we're wearing, but I know so many people are overwhelmed this time of year and they're just going, going, going. And I love that you shared with me before we started the recording that you have made a choice to enjoy the holiday. So please tell us your experience around this.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate you having me on today. I'm delighted to share my experience about how I decided to enjoy the holidays. Years ago, the holidays used to really stress me out. And what I learned was at some point, you have to, first of all, have a plan, decide how you're going to spend the holidays. I said to one of my sisters not long ago, who lost her husband earlier this year. And she was saying to me, like, I don't know what I'm going to do for the holidays.
Mm.
It's Dana. Is her daughter. It's Dana and I's first year, first Christmas without Gary. That was her
Hmm.
husband.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, well, you have to decide how you're going to spend the holidays. This is the perfect time for you and Dana to establish some new traditions for yourself.
Hmm.
And I gave her a few examples.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
exactly
I,
what I was thinking. An
yes,
opportunity for new choices, new
exactly,
traditions,
exactly,
reinvent
exactly.
something. Yeah.
Yes. Like last Christmas, I decided I wasn't gonna put up a tree. I love decorating, and I realized I spent far too much time decorating my tree. It's just me. I don't have a lot of company over the holidays. We go to my niece's house for the holidays. She has a beautifully decorated tree. And so I said, Chamber, you really don't need to spend all this time decorating your tree. You can still decorate your home. I have Christmas table settings, and so my table is decorated and my windows and doors. So that takes a lot of time before Christmas and even after Christmas. I want
Yeah.
to get ready for the new year. Some things I'm
Hmm.
doing, but I got to spend all this time taking down the tree, putting it
Yeah.
away, and putting the ornaments and everything away, and you never get them put back exactly right. So I
So
said, okay,
it
I'm not
sounds like
doing this
what do you
anymore.
want to prioritize or what do you want to spend your
Exactly,
time on? Yeah.
exactly. So
Hmm.
it was hard, not to do a tree this year. And then when old pictures of trees I've done are coming up, in my feed on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that was a beautiful tree. But I'm like, no, I'm not doing it this year. So I stuck to my guns. So I was proud of myself for doing that. I made the decision. I'm not going to do a tree. I will decorate. And I have decorated. My table is decorated, my buffet, my doors have lights, my windows have lights around them. My front door has a wreath. I'm still sending out my Christmas cards, but I do a few each night. So I'm sitting down at the table or in the morning as I'm having my cup of tea or coffee. I write out a few. I get them to the post office. And, when I'm done, I'm done. So I
Hmm.
don't stress about Christmas. And that may be easy for me to say. I don't have children or grandchildren, or a husband, but I have sisters. I have siblings, I have friends, and I buy gifts for them, but I don't stress about it. They know my budget is probably not as big as their budget is. And so I ask them, give me a list, and so they'll give me a list of 1 to 3 things. Like I have a niece, and she lost her mom when she was 10 years old. So I always like, she's an adult now, she's like in her 30s. So I always like to do something special for Leah
Mm,
for her birthday. She lives in Atlanta. So I said to her, give me a idea. What kind of perfumes do you like? I normally just send her a gift card with some other little gifts, but she was like, Auntie, the gift card is fine. I can buy groceries with it and da, da, da. But I wanted to send her something besides a gift card. So I
mm-hmm.
said, well, just and she says, I don't want you to spend too much because she knows my budget, too, and or kind of knows my budget. I said, well, send me the item, the perfume that you want. If it's too much for me, then you just won't get it.
Mm, right, right.
It's that simple. So,
Yeah,
so those are decisions I made about,
yeah, I love that. Like you
Mhm,
made your plan, you're
mhm,
sticking to your choices, you've
mhm.
made it clear to other people that, this is what your boundaries, I guess. I
Yes,
love all
yes,
that. And
yes.
I know a lot of people are overwhelmed about holidays or around this
Mhm,
holiday
mhm,
time. And I will admit, I tend to forget that there are a lot of people that are sad around this time of year. It's a sad time because of they lost somebody or a transition in their, something's changed in their life and maybe they made a move and they don't know people like so I understand there's all these different experiences that people have
mhm.
and they relate these emotions around this holiday or any holiday.
And it's
So,
also because I think the expectations sometimes
mm,
people
yeah.
have about Christmas. And I know for a lot of single people, because they don't have a significant other,
Hmm.
that's why Christmas is hard for them. It doesn't have to be, uh, step outside of yourself, stop thinking about yourself,
Oh, I love
maybe
that.
do something for someone else, help an elderly person, help a young person. A lot of churches have angel tree ministries. I know
Yep.
my church, uh, you can buy a gift for a child of a parent who's incarcerated.
Mm.
And even some businesses. I know years ago, the bank, I lived in Houston at the time, and the bank used to have like an angel tree in their lobby. And you
Yep.
pick the name of a child, they had written on the card what they wanted. So I would always go to that bank and pick 1 or 2 of those cards and get that person whatever they had on that Christmas list that they wanted for Christmas. And like I'm doing that this year. I'm
Mm.
helping out with our church has adopted a nonprofit agency. It's called On Your Own. It's people who have addictions, either alcohol addictions or drug addictions. They're in recovery.
Hmm.
Um, and they also may have some mental health challenges. And so they prepare a dinner for them. So I'm
Mm.
cooking a dish for that On Your Own. I'm cooking a dish, and then I offer to do a centerpiece for the table for that
Mm.
event. And I will go and help serve. So it's little things like that you can do to not be sad during Christmas, because helping other people does make you feel good, does make you happy.
Hmm.
And it's a small thing. It's a
Love that.
service. And we're not here, I believe, we're not here just to live for ourselves. We're
Right.
here on earth. We have a purpose, but we're also here. Part of that purpose is serving.
For
Like
sure.
doctors, they're making money, but they're also serving.
Yeah.
They're providing a very serious need. So,
Right.
and I believe that we all have a purpose and
Oh,
can
for
serve
sure.
in some small or big way.
Oh, I am
Really.
so on the same page with you on that. But I appreciate you brought up the word expectations
Yes,
because you're
yes,
right. We're like living up to some imaginary expectation or that we think we're supposed to do because we get these messages from media, from
yes.
friends, like, and
Pictures. and
Yeah, and like,
magazines.
why do we have to feed into and jump into those expectations? We can
Exactly.
decide for ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's, just maybe having an awareness around, well, what are the expectations and do I have to live up to them? And
No,
can I
no.
reinvent something? Can I, get creative and create a new way of celebrating the holiday? So these are
You
all
absolutely can. You
great
absolutely
concepts
can.
that I think
Yes.
we're planting seeds for people that may not have stopped to think about some of this stuff. We just go through the motions and
Exactly.
um,
Like doing what we think we're expected to do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and we have to ask ourselves, okay, where's that expectation coming
yeah.
from?
Right, right,
Do I have to fulfill that expectation? No,
right.
you
And that,
don't.
and I love that you said stop thinking of yourself.
You
And
know,
and
because
that's what we
that's where
do.
it was. So
That's
many years ago, I was selfish. I was self-centered, only thinking of myself. I had other siblings. When I was growing up, I could have been more helpful to them.
hmm
But I was selfish. I was self-centered. I only thought about what I wanted, what
yeah,
my needs
yeah.
were.
Yep, I hear you. I came around late to that game as well. So,
Mhm.
and that's something that maybe I didn't get enough of growing up, and I'm not
Uh-huh.
blaming anybody because
Mhm.
as an adult I can make that decision for myself to
Yes.
focus on others and like you said we all have a gift and what is that gift I have to share.
Mhm.
So yeah, I totally like I said it was something late in life that I had a realization around.
Yes.
But yeah, I've loved everything that you've said. But I do want to, I know this is really important to you. You mentioned mental health. Um, that's your thing, that's your niche, that's something that is very personal to you. And like I said, I tend to forget that people they may be having some mental health challenges, that
Mhm.
a holiday can be stressful. I'm the first to admit that I don't, because that has not been my experience. So, can you
Mhm.
share your experience and why that's so important to you?
Well, it's important to me because I think for many years I had some of those expectations that I'm talking about. Like I wanted a white Christmas, and
Hmm
I wanted a place with a chimney so Santa could come
Yes,
down the chimney.
yes, yes.
I
hmm
had those expectations.
hmm
I wanted to have a date. I wanted to go to these parties. Where you have to
Yeah,
dress up, and so I
yeah.
had those expectations. And so I may not have had that, but I had a loving home. My mom provided a loving home for us growing up as a child. We didn't have a lot, but we had food, we had clothes, we were warm. And so every holiday, even after I became an adult, and I used to want to travel to some faraway place or something. But what I've learned since in the years since, but I always was going to my mother's house, a delicious dinner with my siblings, my sisters and brothers, and as
hmm
they started having children and getting married, and nothing could be greater than that. Family is so important, and it's so special to have family to spend time with at the holidays. Everyone doesn't have that.
Right,
And so
right.
and then learning to cope with the mental illness is like it's really been a blessing for me because I'm thankful that although it was challenging, but I'm thankful that through this illness I've learned a lot about myself, about life, about how to get along with people, and it's made me a better person. Having
Mm,
this to deal with, having this mental health illness to deal with, it's made me a better person. It's challenged me to the very core of my being, but it's also made me a better person.
mm.
Because like I said, I was spoiled. I was a brat. Selfish, self-centered. I didn't want to do anything for anyone. Seriously.
No, I get it.
And and then when I started changing, once I moved away from home, I had moved to Houston with my boyfriend who became my husband, and no one wanted to take me to the airport, and I didn't understand that. And I said to my mother, I don't understand why no one wants to take me to the airport. And my mother said, well, Shambry, I think if you were willing to be a little bit more cooperative, like when they took me to the airport, I wanted them to park. I wanted them to
Mm.
walk me to the gate, wait till the plane took off.
Wow. Back in the day when they could walk to the gate with you.
Exactly. That's what I wanted. They just wanted to drop me off, at
Uh-huh.
when and then when they pick me up, meet them at baggage claim. And so when my mother said that, I'm like, oh, I can do that. It's okay if they just drop me off. And so when I was willing to be more agreeable, willing to be more helpful, and they loved me more. I know they loved me,
Yeah.
but they showed more love. They were more willing,
Hmm.
So it was a growing experience for me. So yes,
Yeah, I love that you have said mental illness. So your mental illness challenges, I'm just calling them that, made you
uh-huh.
a better person. Because
Absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
guessing people out there are like, oh, woe is me. Why am I suffering with, like, and oh,
And
I
that
feel
was how
bad
I
for.
felt at first because I felt like I was smart, I was cute, and I just wanted to go to college and get an education so I could make a lot of money so I could live the dream life that I had imagined. So when I got sick that first year that I was at college, I had a nervous breakdown. It was woe is me. Why is this happening to me? And I felt like some great injustice had been done to
Hmm.
me. I didn't deserve this, and
Right.
and and just thinking like that made it harder to cope. So just the way I was thinking alone made it hard to cope. But when
Mm,
I accepted that, okay, you have a mental illness, it's not the end of the world. You have to decide how you want to live the rest of your life. You
mm,
can sit
mm.
around, be depressed, feel sorry for yourself, or you can decide, I want to be happy, I want to enjoy my life and figure out what I need to do to enjoy my life.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I'm
And it
sorry. I
made
had
a
to put
huge
a
difference.
throat lozenge in my throat so I
I
didn't start
understand.
coughing. So
But it
forgive
was a
me.
mind shift. It was a mind shift, and it made all the difference.
Yeah, I
It made
love that. Like you
difference.
changed your thinking. You made the choice yourself. It wasn't
Yes.
imposed on you. It wasn't an expectation you were living up to.
Mm-mm.
You decided, like you said, you didn't want to live your life like that. And that can be applied to, like I said, depression,
Anything.
any of those
Yes.
other, you
Exactly.
know, emotional imbalances or whatever you want to, however you want to refer to them.
Any other change that we go
Hmm.
through,
Any
some
other
change,
challenge.
change,
Yeah.
some change is voluntary, and some change is involuntary, meaning we didn't choose it. But we
Mm,
still have to learn to deal with it. We have to accept it. And so you can either grow from it or I don't know, let it stop you.
right.
Let it just stop you, or stop growing. Um,
Mhm.
and
Wow.
I chose, like after my divorce, my separation from my husband, and as heartbreaking as it was, I realized it was for my growth. I got to
Mm.
discover who I was as a person, discover what my strengths were, and I was like, wow. So I'm thankful. God is good.
Oh my God.
I don't take anything for granted. I give God all the credit,
And
truly all the credit.
I think you mentioned gratitude in a little bit ago,
Yes,
and looking at what you had and what you had to be grateful for, and
yes,
what aspects of your life were beautiful. And yeah, I think that's, I mean, gratitude is thrown around a lot, that word, but to actually put it into practice in a difficult situation and circumstance makes it even more powerful when it does
yes.
work for you, when you're
And it makes
seeing
a
the results of it.
it makes a difference. Learning to be grateful even when you're going through difficult times, even when you're challenged, that really helps you to get through it. It really, really does. Instead of being angry or blaming someone else, it helps you to get through it. And that's what God tells us to do. He said to, rejoice in everything, give thanks, but this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. You're not thankful for the bad things that happened. You're thanking God, for your life, for
Right.
his grace, his mercy, for him helping you,
Mm-hmm.
him giving you strength, or keeping you from some danger. You're not being thankful for the situations that happen, or whatever, but you're just being thankful, because it could have been worse. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I find this so hard to believe, but when we were speaking prior on another occasion, you said you overcame shyness. Like, what? Because I think some people probably think, and I've heard this label slapped on like loosely and freely. Oh, they're just shy, or I'm just shy, or I've always been shy, or any kind of label, put any label in there. And then they feel that they have to carry that label their entire life. And I don't believe that. I don't think that's true, but I think other people might believe that to be true. Like, oh, they were labeled that like when they were 10 years old or whatever. And they're now later in life and it's still with them because they didn't think they could change it. And you're a living example that you again made that choice for yourself and that decision, and you decided to change that label, it sounds like.
I worked at it. I worked very hard at it, because there was a time that I could not talk one on one with a person.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I was going to this church in New York, Brooklyn, New York, and there was having a special program. And so I wanted to participate. So they asked me to do the greeting. It was just a simple greeting, just to
Mm-hmm.
welcome the people. I stammered through that, stammered and studied through that. I mean, afterwards, people came up to me. They felt sorry for me. Oh, I felt so
Oh,
sorry for you.
oh.
I was embarrassed. I mean, that's how badly I stammered. But I vowed from that day on that I would overcome my shyness. And so, how I did that was I put myself in situations where I had to speak. And over
Mm.
time, I mean, this didn't happen overnight. Now, this took a lot of years. Over time,
Mm-hmm.
I just started talking to people in the grocery store, at the post office,
Mm.
wherever I was. I would, comment on something. My family says I'm nosy. My brother-in-law said, "No, you're not really nosy. You're just curious. I see
Mm-hmm.
something in someone's cart, and I want to know about it." So
Yep.
I started doing stuff like that. And at one time, and so, but I thought I was quiet. So I said to my family, "No, I think I'm quiet." And they were like, "No, Shambry, you are not quiet. You talk to everybody." And I realized that from that moment, I'm like, I'm really not quiet. I'm a talker. But I think I felt shy because I felt a little insecure, because I grew
Mm.
up in a African American culture. And, so I wasn't shy, growing up. But when I entered the work world and I'm around people that I didn't grow up around, in a very conservative work environment at that, I became very shy because I was uncomfortable. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to talk.
Mm-hmm.
At least
Mm-hmm.
that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And so that was just, I think, had something to do with my upbringing in an African American culture, African American community, and then entering the world of work, corporate America, no less,
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
conservative company like Johnson and Johnson, or the Boy Scouts, or
Mm-hmm.
and so just being very nervous and feeling insecure.
Well, I love that you put yourself in situations where you had to speak. So instead of shying away and curling up in a ball and like, that's just the way I am, my whole life's going to be like that. Like you stepped up, pushed out your comfort zone, made that decision that you're going to learn and become comfortable speaking with others.
Yes, and speaking with strangers, because I'm really a people person. I think that's me naturally. I love people. So it was uncomfortable for me being maybe in a restaurant with two or three ladies and not being able to say anything, or in the break room with sitting at the table with a couple ladies, and just not being comfortable talking. So it
Mm-hmm.
was uncomfortable for me because I love to talk.
but
and I love people.
but you, I love that you challenged yourself. Again, you
Thank
stepped out of
you.
your comfort zone.
Thank you. Thank you.
You kept growing yourself with
Mhm.
intention and with purpose.
Yes, yes.
I
And I used to
love that.
read. I used to read everything I could about shyness, what
Mm,
caused it, how to overcome it. So that
hmm
helped too. And I did the same thing about my illness. I used to read about it, depression and and how to overcome depression. And because initially the hardest part was dealing with the depression and then
hmm
the manic. So I used to read, what I could
mm.
find about it. And, there were magazine articles and stuff like that. So it was all helpful. It was helpful.
Yep. Knowledge is power, as they
Yeah.
say.
And we do have to challenge ourselves or we don't learn, we don't grow, we do have to challenge ourselves.
Hmm
I've always had friends, but I know people who don't have friends. I make friends, everywhere I've gone in life, on jobs, everywhere I've lived, I've made friends. The three ladies I went to school with and was close with going to school, from grade school on up, we're still friends. We keep in touch to this day. We're as different as night and day, all three of us. But I think we had some similar values. We had
hmm
strong family values, and our
hmm
friendship has been important to us. And we had boundaries. They weren't even spoken boundaries, but like we didn't
hmm
borrow money from each other. You
hmm
know. Uh, or ask for favors or stuff like that. But I know that if I needed, I could ask my friends and they would help me. And I
hmm
like to think that they know that about me. They've shown up for me. They when I graduated from college in 2007, they came to Houston. They live in New Jersey. They came to Houston to my graduation. That was
Oh,
huge for
I
me.
bet. Yeah, for sure.
So, and we show up for each other. When my sister died, when I was living in Houston at the time, but when I got home, they had already been to my mother's house. So it's things like that. You show up for your friends at those the happy times and the not so happy times. Yes.
Love that. I love when I hear about long-term relationships like that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had too many of them, but I
Mm-hmm.
love to hear people that have had them from grade school or
Yep.
kindergarten or whatever. And like I said, everybody's adults now and they're all different because we grow as
Mm-hmm.
individuals, but you
Uh-huh.
still stay connected. And it doesn't
Yes.
take too many people. You don't have to have like 50. You can have just one or two of
Exactly.
those special
Exactly.
friends that, like I said, are going to be there for you no matter what. Love
Yeah.
that. And I'm guessing when you get together and start chit-chatting, you just pick up right where you left off, whether it
We
was
have
5 years
so
ago
much
or 10
fun.
years ago.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
I love that. Now
Yes.
I know we're starting to run out of time here, but I do want to ask you about your self-esteem. You can call yourself a self-esteem coach. And I'm guessing you want to help other women, other people to
Hmm.
change their own thoughts, make their own choices, and kind of lead them towards their own growth around self esteem. Can you speak
Healthy
about that? I know you
self-esteem.
have something coming up.
Yes, I want to help people develop healthy self-esteem because everybody doesn't have healthy self-esteem. Everybody doesn't know what healthy self-esteem is. And my workshop is really comes from the scriptures. We are created in the image and likeness of God. And that's what our self-esteem needs to be based on. It's not based on
Mhm.
how we
Yep.
look, our job, our
Yep.
education, whether we're married or single, because all those things can be taken away from you. Your
Yes.
looks can change
Yes.
in a moment's time. A
Yep.
car accident, a fall down the steps,
Mm-hmm.
your weight can change, so you cannot base your self-esteem on any of those things. You want to base your self-esteem on the fact that you're created in the image and likeness of God and
Yep.
God loves you. Now, that
Yes.
doesn't mean that you have to be a fanatical about religion. This is not about religion. This is about
Mm-hmm.
you loving yourself. God commands us to love your love yourself as you love your neighbor. You cannot love your neighbor and love other people if you don't love yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
really can. And what some people think is self-esteem or call self-esteem is not. We can be our own worst enemy sometimes, and we sabotage
Yep.
our self-esteem. We beat ourselves up,
Yep.
oh, I should. You don't want to do that to yourself. You want to speak, you want to be kind to yourself. You want to speak good things about yourself. We all
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes. Okay, so
Yep.
you had a bad day today. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Tomorrow will be better. And
Yes.
it
Yes.
comes from how you think. And so I want to help people because I didn't grow up with poor self-esteem. I really did. I probably had a little too much self-esteem. I probably thought a little too much of myself,
Uh-huh.
and God had to humble me. So through the illness, the mental illness, I had to
Mm.
learn to be humble. And so he used that to mold me and shape me into the person that he created me to be, loving, kind,
Mm.
helpful. I love helping people. But there was a time when I didn't want to help nobody. I didn't want to help
Mm-hmm.
my mom. She had
Yeah.
I was the third oldest of 12, and I didn't want to do
Wow.
nothing for my younger siblings. I had two older sisters, so they used to kind of pick up the slack for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
could kind of get away with a lot, or I did get away with a lot,
Mm-hmm.
let them tell it, because I had them picking up the slack. And then,
Uh-huh.
my mother, because she had so many children, sometimes she didn't have time to deal with me, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a big
So she
family,
just
I'm
kind of
sure. Yeah.
yeah, she just kind of let me be,
Mm.
and then when at some point she realized, well, I realized, because she said this to me, I realized, I probably made a few mistakes with you because they let me kind of get away with a little too much. And my dad, I'm named after my father's mother, and
Mm, cool.
so he would always take up for me, you
Mm.
know, defend me against mother. My mother was a very strict disciplinarian, but my dad would always defend me.
He
He
was the
let me have
softy,
my
huh?
way. Yes, yes, he was the softy. He'd come get me if I was out. I'd call him. He'd come get me.
Mm.
And he would, it was cold. I didn't want to walk to the school bus, so he would drive me to school. My mother is fussing. Oh, Shambry can walk like everybody else walked to that bus stop, but I was just stand there at the door and look and wait because I knew my dad was going to come and he was going to drive me to school. And he did for my senior year. He drove me to school.
Wow. What great
So
memories too. But I
yes,
love, and again, we're coming to the end. We're going to have to wrap this up. But I love that you said healthy self-esteem.
yes,
Help
that's the
people
key.
develop
Healthy
healthy
self-esteem. Yes,
self-esteem. Because like you
yes,
said, you alluded that earlier in your life you had a lot of self-esteem, but was it
yes.
necessarily healthy?
No, it was not.
So I
Yeah.
love that. I love and we can't go down the self-love path. Maybe in another conversation we can, but
Okay.
that whole, we need to love ourselves and fill
Exactly.
ourselves up
Yes,
and
yes,
and so that we can reflect that out to others. And yes, so
exactly.
that's a whole nother conversation. So yes, we'll make plans to have another talk about that. But
Okay.
how can people get a hold of you, Shambry? What if they really wanted to reach out and learn more about your healthy esteem and how you have gone through your mental health journey and made your own decisions? Where can they find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Shambry Ratliff, Shambry Ratliff on Facebook. My self-esteem is called Self-Esteem and Me. I have a Facebook book group. Just go there and you have to request to join the group. It's not public, it's private. So you have to request to join it.
Okay.
As long as I see you're in the United States and you appear a reasonable person, I don't turn anyone away who
Hmm.
requests to join. But I feel like I have to keep it private to protect the
Yeah.
people that are in the group.
Right,
And
right.
then you can always send me a email, shambry.ratliff@gmail.com.
Okay. And we'll put that info in the description with
Okay.
this episode. So if anybody missed that, just look for the her contact info in the description and you'll be able to reach out to her. But it sounds like Facebook is the place to look for you.
Yes, and I do
Um,
have a website, shambryratliff.com.
Okay, so look for that or,
Hmm.
find you on Facebook, maybe DM you. I know you
Yes.
have a new thing like you're launching the beginning of the year. We're not going to give dates on that in case somebody's listening to this after that. But if they want to know more about your Self-Esteem and Me program, they can just
Mhm.
contact you and you can fill them in on updated details.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. So again, I hate to stop this conversation, but I do have to.
I
This has been
understand.
so delightful. I
It
like to,
has, and thank you so much.
oh,
I have
it's
enjoyed
been
it.
my pleasure. I like to offer a call to action for people. So I'm just going to, and you give your thoughts. I'm just going to give my thoughts to really take the time to look at outside expectations and
Uh-huh.
make your own decision. Make your
Yes,
own choices. If you
yes,
choose to be happy and have a great holiday, then choose it. Don't let
yes.
anybody else tell you otherwise. You have a call to action for our viewers, Shambry?
Take each day one at a time, one at a time.
Mm,
I mean, live each day one at a time. That's what I do. We can't change the past, but you can live, you determine how you want to live your life and live each day one day at a time. Have a plan, but don't be so rigid that
right,
you
right.
have to stick to that plan. Be flexible. Be flexible. I don't commit to no more than I can handle. I'm very careful about what I commit to. I don't want to over extend myself or overcommit. And I like to, like, I volunteer with NAMI, so I like to keep my word, and so I don't sign up for no more than what I can do.
Love
So
that.
when
Love
I
that.
volunteer, I keep my word. I show up for my volunteer assignment. I've had assignments with other people, and I was the only person that showed up.
Mm,
So that's something that I'm very careful about.
mm.
Be a person of your word, honor
Be a
your word.
person of integrity. Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
be a
Love
woman of
that.
your word. My mother was
Hmm.
huge on that.
Mm. Oh
Yes,
my gosh, you have brought so much wisdom to us. Thank you so much. It's been
thank
such a
you.
joy and delight to have you here and to hear from your own experiences. Again, some words of wisdom. If you want to get a hold of Chambry, check out the description. Thank you so much. I hope we can have another conversation and share it with our viewers in the future. So
I
thank you
look
so much,
forward
my
to it.
friend.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, thank you for listening in and watch for other episodes. Share this if this has been impactful for you. Subscribe to my Evolving Women and my YouTube channel in general. Go check out Chambry's Facebook group. And yeah, let's stay connected. Thank you so much, my
Okay.
friends. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.